Classes that graduated while I was teaching in that school, and that's where a lot of this work comes from. It's a recollection. I also published a book in 1979 with Random House, which was called the Yearbook Book, and it was a collection of high school yearbook photographs of famous people. So you would have, let's say, strange combination of people. Golda Meir was in this thing, and she, if you don't know, was the original prime minister of Israel. Next to some boxer, next to some singer, and the juxtapositions of these people made it an interesting thing. So I guess yearbooks have been kind of that fascinated me. And so these are, some of them are from the class of '57. And in the back there, those are kind of projections about some of the people that I've met across the way. They're fake yearbook pages. They're not based on anybody. They're all conjured. And these are all conjured except for the presidents. And this one over here, which is based on brief interviews of hideous men, which was a book by David Foster Wallace. And if you look, some of you will recognize some of those faces. They're not meant to be perfect likenesses. But you could see Mao Zedong, Richard Nixon's there, Dick Cheney's there, Attila the Hun is there, Lumumba is there, Rasputin is there, Jeffrey Dahmer is there. So they're not yearbook pictures.
A yearbook of the human race.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Because if you were to write a yearbook blurb for each one of those dudes, I wonder what it would have said in the prophecy.
Most likely to succeed.
Yeah, most likely to succeed. Yeah. That's a great idea, though.
You can take it. I love your artwork. Just give me a piece.
Okay, you can take that one off.
All right. Terrifying when I go to bed, but yeah.
Well,
Attila the Hun stay.
Yeah, well.
Well, it's obvious people stay.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, folks. Susie, would you get the box over there? The book with the little drawings in it? Thank you. Now, some of these are drawings that, it's heavy. The reason that we're able to call this 1,000 Faces is that, believe it or not, there's 600 and some odd cards in here. When I started doing these, I would paint on index cards. Okay, so what I offer you is this back shelf, and give you each a pick. And what I'd like you to do is to do it randomly, not to think about it, but take home a picture of, mostly these are 9/11 faces, so they mean something very special. So which way should we go? Clockwise? Counterclockwise. It's heavy. It's heavy. You're strong.
Yes, I am. Random.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is so.
You're welcome.
Ian, this is so cool.
Is it fun?
Oh, that one's amazing.
What'd you get?
Interesting.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
if you turn around, Courtney, turn around and you'll see the second and then.
Wow.
This was the first print. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
No coincidences. Yeah.
Jesus.
This one's dark.
Uh-huh. Well, it's yours.
So you mentioned early on when you started drawing, focusing on comics and things because it didn't matter if you got it right or not.
Right.
And I've approached my art from a very similar perspective. It's right when it's right, and it's done when it's done. Is there a way to train people or teach people that skill? I mean, or is it just a gift that you can let your painting be what your painting is and not overwork it?
The answer is yes and no.
Okay.
I think it depends on the story. It's all about stories.
Yeah.
My story isn't your story. There may be similarities or something, but it's about stories. I don't know who I'd be without my stories. I think there is a way of teaching. I'm not quite sure how that came about. I think I've taught that for years. My avocation is I'm a career coach to artists, mostly visual artists. A lot of them are commercial photographers or illustrators, but not all. And I've been doing that since 1989, and that's supplemented my painting. If I had to live on my painting, no, maybe not, but I chose to do it this way, so I didn't have to live on my paintings, by my paintings. So, I don't know if that helps at all.
I mean, it's interesting because I have a few kids, and my oldest is he's 6, and he's he loves drawing, but he gets so frustrated when he can't make it look like it wants to look. And he says, "Papa, when you draw it, it looks like what you want it to look like, but when I draw it, it doesn't look like what I want it to look like." And I try to explain to him that I've been doing it for 30-some years, and it's practice and hard work and practice and hard work. But there does seem to be with people an innate desire to, some people want everything, every line, every angle, every shade to be perfect, and others can let it be more organically developed. And I don't know that I learned that from somebody or if it was just there, but
yeah, how can we know that?
Yeah.
We just. I remember my grandfather, who would show me how to draw, but he couldn't draw. Not the way I thought I should be drawing, like your son. But he had so much joy in showing me this stuff that it was contagious. What you have for him is to open his creative heart and to be able to not judge himself, and he's going to judge himself anyway.
Sure.
He's a human being. We do that, and eventually he'll make a picture or two that he comes running in. He says, Bob, take a look at this.
Yeah.
It's a
And that has
bird.
happened.
He
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, that has happened.
Yeah.
It's just the moments where he gets so frustrated. It's like, but it's awesome. You just drew for the past hour, and you had fun until the past 5 minutes when you decided it wasn't good enough.
Take him to a museum show of abstract expressionist painters,
Right.
and see what that does to him.
Yeah.
I think it could be really interesting because he can't associate it with anything that's terribly real, except the emotions.
Sure.
I wonder what he would,
Yeah.
how he'd respond to that. It's on a wall. It's big. It's beautiful.
I have a question about like these pieces seem to be like inspired by technology and like photography and yearbooks and publishing, and people like these people become icons sort of in like this kind of very popular kind of way, and then these figures all seem to be inspired by like mythology or biblical
They're
themes.
done about 15 years apart.
Oh, okay. So was there a reason for...
Well, these pictures were part of a set that I did. I think it started in '89, something like that. Whatever. And I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And I had this vision one day that I was sitting there feeling really sad And I looked up and I saw angels. And I said, I can honor these critters by painting them. And that's how those paintings came about. And I'm cancer free, and that. I like to think that I had some help.
That's great. They're feminine almost.
Yes.
Yeah,
they're feminine, yet they have penises.
Yes.
Which is interesting, and I think that if there are angels, I don't think they have a single sex that they, I don't think so. Maybe they're hermaphrodites. I don't
Best of
know.
both.
What are your observations, questions? I had no idea what I was going to talk about. That's usually the most fun for me.
As you've gone through your career, how has your process evolved and how has it stayed the same? Because these images here, I feel like they're more choppy. I don't know how to explain it, but there's paint where it's supposed to be, and it looks more like a palette knife kind of effect and scrapes and scratches. More so where these are kind of I feel like there's a lot of thinning or thinners or
Then there are.
or liquids linseed oil to thicken or thin the paint, and their washes, and the layering seems different, but it is still layering. But how have you chosen to do so?
Not a conscious choice, Arturo. Looking back on it, I can see lineage. But for me, I went from here maybe to something over there to something over here until I got what I was doing. And then it had some linear development, this first. And the work that I did prior to this was primarily abstract work, very gooey, pushing paint, pulling paint, dripping paint. And I love dripping paint. And I love gooey paint. But that's what led up to this. And it's not so gooey, it's very thin. But the brush strokes, I think, and the linear quality is something that did grow from my earlier work.
Were these painted, particularly that one, was that painted down?
Yes.
Opposed to, yeah.
Yes.
And were these painted up or down?
Those were painted up. That's a good question.
What do you mean by that?
That was painted flat on a flat
that's-
surface. And yeah, I remember painting that one. And that was one of the first. And there was a lot of blotting. So while it was wet, I was blotting it, and that's got the, well, you could see it. So
You're dealing with gravity in different ways.
Yeah.
When you paint up versus
yeah,
down.
absolutely. If I'm doing these paintings here, and those in the back, which are transfers or impressions, they're basically, you could call them monoprints, which is really what they are, one-of-a-kind prints. I'm not conscious of any of that stuff, where it fits into my ooze, or whatever. It's just what is. So I never think about, is it creating a body of work? What's going to happen to the body of work? And I think I got free of that when I started career coaching. I did not have to depend upon it. And it's been a good career. All of my careers have been good careers. I don't think I could be what I am today without, skipping any of them.